For many years, The Lord of the Rings was seen as a book series that could never be adapted into film. It seems impossible to imagine that being the case after the success of the Peter Jackson films, as they have become truly iconic and are classics in their own rights. However, Peter Jackson was not the first person to adapt the Lord of the Rings books into a film. That honor belongs to Ralph Bakshi, as he released The Lord of the Rings starring John Hurt and William Squire in 1978. Now, many hold the Peter Jackson Trilogy in a much higher regard, but Ralph Bakshi did a lot right, and in fact influenced Peter Jackson quite a bit, and Jackson even replicated specific shots in homage to Bakshi's version. And that is what we will be talking about today in this video, the things Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings did right. The most notable aspect of this film is the animation, and how realistic all the characters were. This was a result of an animation technique known as rotoscoping, where live action was used and animated over. This saved a lot of money for the production company and resulted in incredibly realistic movements and allowed for a large number of characters to move around. Maria Balin wrote, "Up till that point, animated films had not depicted extensive battle scenes with hundreds of characters. By using the rotoscope, Bakshi could trace highly complex scenes from live action footage and transform them into animation." Now, up till this day, I am yet to see a film blend live action and animation in such a creative and believable way. Following the fantastic animation is the otherworldly aspects of this film. First and foremost, this is a fantasy epic, and the otherworldly aspect perfectly represents this fact. The beautiful stars in the forest of Lothlorien, where Lady Galadriel resides, gives a feeling of complete tranquility and peace. The forest is almost heavenly in its appearance, and the choir seems to be made up of angels. This is in stark contrast to the atmosphere that emerges when the Black Riders appear. When they appear, we are transported to a world where nothing makes sense. In fact, the closest thing I can use to reference it is purgatory. We as the viewers are in their realm, and we cannot escape no matter how far away you run. And finally, the battle for Helm's Deep, where the skies are filled with flames, a true representation of hell on earth as forces of good fight against the armies of darkness. But my absolute favorite aspect of this film, however, is the way they represent the characters. In this film, we are introduced to a courageous Frodo Baggins, who is willing to attack a cave troll, and even while on the brink of death, is willing to fight the Black Riders to protect Middle-earth. Now, I enjoy Elijah Wood's portrayal as Frodo, but he always seemed to lack courage, and it is so refreshing to see Frodo performing some heroic acts. And talking about Frodo, his Hobbit friends are portrayed in a different light as well. We see them as much more young and innocent, and they're basically just kids who want to look out for their friend and partake in an adventure. And we are also introduced to a much more serious and stern Gandalf, but at the same time he is incredibly protective and encouraging to others. Aragorn is truly unique in this portrayal, seen as a warrior rather than a king, and it doesn't hurt that he is voiced by the absolutely fantastic John Hurt. And finally, it's always emotional watching Boromir's arc and his eventual redemption ending in death. But what I really love is the fact that the orcs fear him even when he can no longer fight. But let's not forget about the Black Riders, who when we are first introduced to them seem almost animalistic or ghoulish in their movements and actions, but soon adapt or evolve into warriors and soldiers that are willing to kill anything that stands in their way. So in conclusion, this is not a perfect film, and the less said about this version of Sam, the better. But this film really is truly unique, and I'd highly recommend any fan of not just The Lord of the Rings, but of animation in general, to watch this film.